What's up, millennials? Today we're going to take a look at the valuation of a company called Supergroup. This is an online sports betting company, and that is going to be acquired by the SPAC that's currently trading under the ticker symbol SEAH. Now, before we start, if at any moment you don't really know what I'm talking about, please check out my full SPAC guide that I released a few months ago already. It is going to be somewhere in the description, and today we're going to take a look at method number 2. Also, if you want to have access to the Excel sheet I'm going to be using today, you can join our Discord for free to get it. You can first go to nesami.com/discord, then you can leave your name, leave your email address, and then you're going to get access to the Discord channel, and then you can go to the channel called SPACs. In the pinned messages, you're going to find the sheet. And of course, as always, don't trust me, verify me, because I'm just documenting my journey here on YouTube. I'm certainly not a financial advisor, so always use your own numbers, your own multiples to come up with your own fair price per share. As we can see in the investor presentation of Supergroup, we can see that Supergroup is a juggernaut, an online juggernaut in the world of online sports betting. They basically have two offerings. They've got Betway and Spin, of course, and Betway is their premium single brand online sportsbook, and Spin focuses more on the premium multi-brand online casinos. So it's very interesting to see that they also have a positive EBITDA already. They have already solid growth, and they have a proven business model, which is definitely what I'm looking for right now in this current SPAC market, because I do think that the investors right now are focusing a little bit more on these stronger SPACs out there, which have already got a proven business model instead of just no products until the year 2024, for example. And if you want a little bit more information about the fundamentals and the valuation of this company, then I'd recommend you this article about Supergroup. This guy, Jack Rains, has actually invested heavily into Supergroup, so definitely check out this article. I'm going to link it somewhere in the description below this video. According to the investor presentation, we can see that there is a proposed transaction summary, so the transaction isn't confirmed just yet, but it is likely going to be more or less what is described here in the investor presentation. We can see that the pro forma market cap of this company is going to be around $4.75 billion. So that means that because they started trading at $10 per share, they're going to have 475 million shares outstanding after the merger, which effectively is going to reach that market cap of 4.75 billion. If you just take that share price, multiply it by the amount of outstanding shares, then you're going to arrive at that number. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can also see that they're going to have $205 million in cash on their balance sheet. So if you take that number, if you take the market cap 4.75 billion, of course, then you subtract the amount of net cash, $205 million, and then you're going to arrive at a pro forma enterprise value of a little bit more than $4.5 billion. However, if we go into TradingView, we can see that the stock SEAH right now is trading at $10.45 per share pre-market. So that is the number we are going to be using right now, $10.45, which is the number you can plug over here in your Excel sheet. And then the Excel sheet is already going to calculate the updated pro forma market cap and the updated pro forma enterprise value for you, which in this case is almost 5 billion in market cap and 4.75 billion in equity or in enterprise value, of course. But we, of course, want to know what a fair enterprise value is for this company Supergroup. And for that, we're going to be using the numbers of the investor presentation. So these are mostly not my opinions, not my subjective opinions, but these are all information from the investor presentation unless I actually say so. So as we can see on this page in the investor presentation, according to the financial information, they already have quite a lot of revenue and they already have a positive EBITDA as well. If we look, for example, at the year 2020 last year, they brought in almost $1.2 billion in revenue and they had $259 million in EBITDA, positive EBITDA. So that is a pretty good sign overall. However, for this valuation, we're going to be taking a look at the numbers of 2022, and then we're going to compare those numbers with the competitors of 2022 as well. So as we can see, they expect, and of course, as I say in almost all my SPAC valuation videos, expect is a very important word here because we don't know for sure if this is going to happen. This is just an assumption, right? So keep that in mind. So they expect to have $1.783 billion in revenue in 2022. So that is the number we are going to be working with, and that is also the number that you can plug in over here in your Excel sheet. And just a little side note here about the compound annual growth rate of Supergroup compared to its competitors. We can see that it's about 23% in the next coming years, so from 2020 until 2022. And that is actually relatively higher, especially if you compare that to the global B2C companies like Flutter, Entain, and 888 Holdings. And it is a little bit lower compared to the companies like DraftKings and Rush Street Interactive. So these are, of course, also sports betting companies. But yeah, it is interesting to see that a supergroup does have a good compound annual growth rate over the next coming years. Okay, so we now have our revenue of 2022, which is $1.783 billion, and we're going to apply a certain range of multiples to that revenue to arrive at an enterprise value for this company. We can see that currently, based on $10 per share, the company Supergroup is trading at a multiple of 2.6x. And again, if you don't really know what I'm talking about, please check out my full spec guide. So we can see that 2.6x, if you compare that to the other companies out there, is a little bit on the lower end. Flutter has 4.8x, Entain 2.7x, 888 Holdings is 2.2x. If you look at DraftKings and Rush Street Interactive, we can see way higher multiples of 14.9x and 4.8x. So the question here is, okay, what would be a fair multiple for this company, or a fair range of multiples for this company? Because we are not going to be using just one multiple, we're going to apply a range of multiples to the revenue of 2022. Personally, I've come up with a range of multiples of 4 to 8x on the high end. So 4x on the low end, 8x on the high end, based on the multiples that we see over here. Because if you take all of these multiples, if you take the average of those multiples, you're going to arrive more or less at 6x. And I think that 6x could be a good multiple to use. But in order to use a range of multiples, we can use 4x on the low end, 8x on the high end. This, of course, is a kind of subjective decision. You can change this if you think that the multiple should be lower, because the companies like Flutter, Entain, 888 do have lower multiples. Then, of course, you can change that in your Excel sheet. Or if you think it's higher and you think that the multiple should be closer to DraftKings and Rush Street Interactive, then you can raise the multiples. But I've chosen to come up with this range of multiples, 4x on the low end, 8x on the high end. All right, so if you have those numbers, if you have those multiples and that revenue of 2022, the Excel sheet is going to take care of the rest of the calculations for you. What it's going to do is the following. First of all, it's going to take that revenue of 2022 and is going to apply that low multiple of 4x to arrive at a fair enterprise value of $7.1 billion for the low end. It's also going to take that high multiple of 8x to arrive at a high enterprise value of a little bit more than $14.2 billion. And then you can also say what the midpoint valuation would be, which is basically the average between the low and the high valuation, which in this case is almost $10.7 billion. Now, do keep in mind, we don't need to discount this back to the present, because we have been taking a look at the multiples of 2022 from Supergroup, but also the competitors. If we, for example, had been looking at the multiples of competitors of 2021, and we would apply that to the revenue of 2022 of Supergroup, then yes, we would need to discount that back to the present. But right now, every multiple, all the multiples are from 2022. No discounting is needed for this method. So again, this is method number 2 of the spec guide. Okay, so if you have these enterprise valuations, what you now need to do is first of all go to a fair market cap. How do we do that? Well, we said that the difference between an enterprise value on the one hand and a market cap on the other hand is the amount of net cash they are going to have on their balance sheet. And according to the investor presentation, what we saw was that that was going to be $205 million in cash. So then you can take those enterprise valuations, you can add back the amount of net cash, and then you're going to arrive at these fair market caps. So for the low end, 7.3 billion, for the midpoint valuation, 10.9 billion, and for the high valuation, almost 14.5 billion. And then what you can do is say, okay, we have these market caps, but we of course want to know what a fair price per share is going to be. Well, we know that based on the investor presentation, there are going to be 475 million shares. So if you take these market caps and you divide them by the amount of outstanding shares, you're going to arrive at these fair prices per share. So for the low end, you arrive at $15.45. For the midpoint valuation, $22.95. And for the high valuation, $30.46. So based on these calculations, it looks like Supergroup is currently undervalued. But of course, don't trust me, verify me, always check what I'm doing, always check if everything is alright. And keep in mind, we have been taking a look at assumptions. So we've taken a look at a predicted revenue number of 2022. We don't know for sure if this is going to happen. We applied a certain range of multiples. Maybe you think that a range of multiples should be lower, maybe it should be higher. So that is up to you to decide. So if you change one of these variables, the entire calculation is going to change and your fair price per share is going to change as well. Now I'm looking forward forward to hearing your opinion about Supergroup. What do you think? Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Let me know in the comments. And with that being said, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye!